I'm going to try something here. I'm going to try mapping our cladogram right next to this list of events um, of evolutionary events so that you can see the relationship between time and this cladogram that we are going to be building. So the first thing that I want to remind you is that we're going to start with a guy we call Luca, which is the last universal common ancestor. And I'm going to say that that is, oh my gosh, I can't see both pieces. That is that. I can't circle. I've got this in two different ways. I think I'm just going to go with it. Our first prokaryote is Luca. How do you feel about that? I'm going to erase this because I don't want this line to get confused. I wish I could circle the first prokaryote and Luca. And maybe what I should say is let's just put a note that this is 3.7 billion years ago. That might be the key that helps us. That's an ancestor. That's a node in our cladogram. And here is where we're going to go next. And just be okay with my gigantic drawing here. We had a split in the lineage, which makes sense, right? That Luca gave rise to two lineages. And one of them was the, nope. One of them was the bacteria. And by understanding Luca, we can be like, we understand a little bit about bacteria. We know they're prokaryotes, which means Luca was a prokaryote. Luca gave rise to another line, and this other line has something about them that distinguishes them from bacteria and unites them with everybody else. What could that possibly be? And it is, this is so weird, histone proteins. This is the trait. Histone proteins are a trait. Do you remember what they are? Histone proteins are those proteins that are associated with DNA, and the DNA winds around the histone proteins. And when it winds really tight, you get a nice little log of a chromosome. And when it loosely winds, you get this chromatin that's a tangle of DNA. Do you remember this when we talked about DNA and meiosis and mitosis? Well, look at this. Histone proteins are shared by archaeans and eukaryotes. Archaeans, I know that we talked about archaea or maybe we haven't talked about archaea and bacteria yet, but those are our two kinds of prokaryotes. And I definitely will talk about this more in the next lecture, but you'd look at these guys and be like, oh no, they're totally related to each other. They're totally brothers. But in fact, the archaeans are brothers with us. The bacteria are the home kids that do not have histone proteins. So weird. We have another, okay, I said we've got bacteria and archaeans. Those are both prokaryotes. Who else came along? We got a nucleus. One of the lines from the ancestor that gave rise to archaeans and us got a nucleus. So now everybody beyond this point is a eukaryote. And branching off first, and this is why I wanted to add this in, branching off first are the plants. Now, take a breath, because I guarantee we are going to expand on the plant cladogram. We could expand on the bacteria cladogram and the Archean cladogram, and we are not. We're going to allow those groups to just stay homogeneous. Like all bacteria are in one group. We're not going to do any splitting, but plants, we're going to do some splitting. And look, we talked about flowering plants 145 million years ago. We got these flowering plants. I guess we should clarify, well, we just can say plants because that ultimately will include flowering plants. It will also include ferns and land plants and mosses and other things. We'll flesh out that particular branch and bring in more things. This might surprise you. There is a molecule called chitin that is shared by all eukaryotes except for plants. And this includes fungi and animals. And I'm going to show you the trait that defines animals because it's one of my favorite traits ever. It's a blastula. And the blastula is a developmental stage in animals. I think we talked about that. Oh my gosh, how funny is this? I can't remember what we've done in this class. I think we talked about blastula when we did human life cycle and meiosis and mitosis. I'm not entirely positive, but no worries. We will talk about blastulas because they define all animals. Now, if you are curious, if you're like, dude, wait, what? We're doing these guys and protists. We're doing an entire lecture on single-celled critters, single-celled prokaryotes and eukaryotes. We're going to do, I actually am not positive if we're doing one lecture on each of these guys. I think I combine them. I think we're doing one lecture on plants and fungi. And then I think we have 2 lectures on animals. We do invertebrates and vertebrates because vertebrates are like wild. And look at all the things on the list. There's a lot of animals on this list, which definitely gives you my bias if you take this class from a botanist or a fungi human. A fungi, if you take it from a funner guy than me, then you would have a focus on the fungal world instead of the animal world. But I tend to be focused on animals and, right? I tend to be focused on humans. All right, how do you feel? This cladogram, that cladogram. We are coming back to this, my friends, and we're going to see it over and over again. So if you are feeling at all overwhelmed, take a breath because you're going to get lots of review on this. All right, I made it through this crazy lecture of fun. Bye.